Sup, y'all? Winnie here, and this episode is going to have 5 SCPs in it, like they used to do. But I'm still going to be recording them individually, just in case some of the entries are super long, for the sake of editing. So we're going to be starting with Probability Phoenix, and we're going to be reading A Hole to Another Place, Invaders, Serial Stickers, and The Old Man from Nowhere. But let's start with the Probability Phoenix. It's Euclid. I don't know why something called the Probability Phoenix wouldn't be. Even if it was just a regular Phoenix, it would probably be Euclid. SCP-1436 is to be contained within an environmentally controlled aviary measuring 4 by 4 by 5 meters. This aviary is to contain plants and insect life typical of an Iraqi forest for the purpose of 1436's nutrition. Due to the current activation procedure, the enclosure is to be insulated against electrical charge, and all personnel entering the enclosure must wear insulated suits. The current activation procedure requires that 1436 is fitted with a device programmed to discharge an 8,000-volt pulse, sufficient to kill 1436 based on a pseudo-random number generator dependent on atmospheric conditions. The device is to be reattached 3 weeks into every cycle. The chance of these conditions being met and the pulse being discharged outside of 1436 event is approximately 1 in 10,000 per day. The device must be confirmed to be functioning when reattached and examined every day during the second stage of the cycle. 1436 is never to be contained at any location with on-site warheads. Description: SCP-1436 is a male bird of unidentified species with features similar to those of the Meropidae family, including its wingspan of 46 centimeters. Its behavior is typical of an insectivore bird, and it produces calls that have been identified as attempts to communicate with other members of its own species. No other members of its species have been found or identified at this time. It constantly undergoes a cycle in which it rapidly matures from an embryo into an adult, dies, and decays. After its form has completely decomposed, an egg reappears and it re-enters the growth stage of its cycle. Each cycle lasts 2 months on average, with the growth stage usually lasting 1.5 months. During this first stage, 1436 does not require more food than the average bird of its current age, despite its accelerated growth. Internal imaging of its body has shown no anomalous features or bodily processes, aside from the subject's rapid growth rate. Once it reaches full maturity, it ceases to age and remains in this state for 3 days on average before entering the second stage of its life cycle. During the second stage, 1436 manipulates probability to cause its own death. The area around it during this stage of the cycle will experience events dangerous to 1436. These events are always physically impossible, but analysis has shown that most events would have been extremely improbable. The events at the beginning of the second stage are far more localized than those later in the cycle. Events later in the cycle have shown the effect is capable of causing complex causal chains to kill 1436, probably Final Destination style. The last cycle before recovery by the Foundation resulted in the structural collapse of a birdhouse and the Somewhere Zoo, fatally wounding 18 and injuring 32. Records from the zoo indicate that 1436 had been in its second stage for about 2 weeks and that several accidents related to it had occurred, each larger than the last. It does not seem to consciously cause these events, and continues to take acts of self-preservation during the second stage. A similar effect to the second stage events prevents any direct action besides a second stage event that would kill it from being completed during both stages. Testing thus far has failed to kill 1436. The most recent ended in the misfire of a pistol, injuring the researcher and rendering the pistol inoperable. Once the second stage events have succeeded in killing 1436, it typically fully decomposes, including bone, in 20 hours. Once it has fully decomposed, it reappears as an egg in the location where it died, regardless of the carcass's location. 1436 genetics have shown to be unchanged from cycle to cycle. Tests have shown that it can identify personnel and objects from previous cycles. So the probability thing is that weird stuff will eventually keep happening until it dies, but trying to kill it will cause weird things to make that fail. Interesting. And so it's not even like a classical phoenix, it's just a bird. There's no fire. There's just anything other than fire that could make it die. But I suppose I understand why it would be Euclid then, because you can't keep it somewhere where its probabilities would cause terrible things to happen, like the zoo collapsing. Or this line right here. But that's... Wait, nope, that's not going to do it for this episode. I almost did the whole outro. That's only going to do it for this entry. So I'm going to stop recording and then continue recording. Yeah, it's definitely going to be disjointed as I try to get used to recording like this. Because usually when I would do 5 in one video, I would do just 5 straight through. But I'm not doing that this time for the sake of keeping track of my files. So next up is a hole to another place. It's safe, so I guess it's easy to be contained. And most holes in the ground would go to another place. SCP-1437 is to be contained behind a perimeter of 2-meter tall electrical fencing, which is to be patrolled by groups of 3 security officers at all times. Any trespassers attempting to access 1437 are to be brought into custody, interrogated, and if found to be ignorant of 1437's nature, dosed with a Class A amnestic and released. That is a lot of emerged documentation down there. Any items or organisms which emerge from 1437 are to be immediately tested for hazards, and if found safe, examined further. Experimentation involving it is strictly forbidden. Description: SCP-1437 is an apparently endless hole measuring 3 by 3 meters located in somebody's desert. Attempts to dig into it from the side result in the diggers encountering solid rock where logic would dictate it should be. It is thus only accessible from its entrance above ground, which is to say, it's in the hole. 1437 appears to be an access point to an as of yet unknown number of parallel universes. Objects have been known to periodically emerge at great speeds, including 1 US quarter, large quantities of dirt and rock, a map of North America written in Spanish. According to the map, the government of North America is La República Popular de Aguas Nuevas, okay, or the People's Republic of New Waters. A photograph of a skyline believed to be a radically altered version of New York's. Structures resembling coral are visible, and a large flying organism can be seen in the distance. And several discs made from solid gold. Accompanying the disc was a sheet of paper reading, "Please send rain." And it also says that the large quantities of dirt and rocks were believed to be an attempt by a parallel containment team trying to fill in the hole. During a period lasting from 2000 something to 2000 something else, numerous individuals, most of whom wore disposable dude uniforms, emerged. All of them were dead on arrival. It is theorized that the nature of 1437 kills living organisms at the point at which crossover between universes is achieved. All emerging individuals carried documents which appeared to be their respective universes' documentation on 1437. It is currently believed that these disposable dudes and previously mentioned documentation were sent as a gesture of desired cooperation. The first one. Okay, so this is just, what, like 5 entries in one then, okay. Individual carrying documentation appeared to be in adequate physical condition, was wearing a pressure suit with an attached oxygen supply. Safety rating, safe for public. Safety procedures, unauthorized citizens are to be kept at a safe distance from SCP-1437 at all times. Any authorized tours of the area are to be accompanied by 2 security officers for their own protection. Taking of photographs is to be permitted. Any citizens attempting to go past safety fencing are to be arrested and handed over to local law enforcement. Description: SCP-1437 is an apparently endless hole measuring 10 by 10 meters located in the town of Promise. Attempts to dig from the site result in the digger encountering solid rock where logic would dictate it should be. It is thus only accessible from its entrance. It appears to be an access point to an as of yet unknown number of parallel universes. Objects have been known to periodically emerge at great speeds, including 1 small pyramid composed of concrete, large quantities of dirt and rocks believed to be trying to fill it in, a landscape painting believed to be of a location in Scotland. According to the painting, its originating universe's sun is blue and its sky yellow. Several discs made from solid gold. Accompanying the disc was a sheet of paper reading, "Please stop plague." A photograph of several scientists. All scientists pictured have unusually long fingers, estimated to be nearly 25 centimeters long. A sheet of paper reading, "Thank you, please send more gifts." During a period lasting from 2009 to 2012, numerous individuals, most of whom wore bright orange jumpsuits, all emerged from 1437, and they were all dead on arrival. All of them carried documents which appear to be their respective universes' documentation of 1437. It's currently believed that these individuals and the documentation they sent were sent as a gesture of desired cooperation. On the 15th of August 2012, a volunteer from the Foundation, Marco Pertin, entered wearing safety gear, taking with him a copy of this document. Okay, let's close that. Number 2. Individual carrying documentation that was in adequate physical condition. The phrase "property of SCP Corporation" was branded on the individual's left arm. And there's a picture of their hole. Threat level, little. Special containment procedures. It is to be contained behind a perimeter of 2-meter tall electrical fencing, which is to be patrolled by groups of 3 security officers at all times. Any trespassers are to be charged with crime of industrial espionage. Any items or organisms which emerge are to be immediately tested for hazards and if found safe, examined further. After examination, suitable items are to be auctioned off to interested collectors. It is an apparently endless hole, 1 by 1 meter, located in somebody's outback, probably the Australian. Attempts to dig from side hit solid rock, only from the hole. Parallel universes. They got a statue of what is believed to be a reptilian entity sporting numerous eyes and tails. Large quantity of dirt and rocks fill in the hole. Glass bottle of water, a human femur covered in saliva, a cube composed of several smaller cubes, all of which are different colors, which is probably a Rubik's Cube, but apparently that universe has never seen a Rubik's Cube, and a soccer ball that has only 5 sides. That's not how balls work. During a period lasting from 2000-something to 2000-something else, numerous individuals, which were disposable dudes, emerged from the hole. They were all dead. Apparently, it is impossible to travel through and survive. The fact that it is apparently impossible to survive has prevented them from utilizing it for commercial purposes. All emerging individuals carry documents which seem to be the universe documentation on 1437. It is believed that these disposable dudes and previously mentioned documents were sent as a gesture of desired cooperation. Several disposable dudes have been sent through carrying copies of this documentation. Okay, close. Number 3. Individual carrying documentation was wrapped in bandages and appeared to have been blinded in the recent past. Lacerations were present on the arms and legs, and the individual's tongue had been cut out. Object 1437, heathen level, unforgiving. Forgivable. Holding measures. High Priest blank is to bless the holding site of 1437 every 2 years, and blood sacrifices are to be dropped in after each blessing. Blood sacrifices are able to hold copies of these scrolls as a warning to any demons to stay away. Spirits are to be consulted after the sacrifices, and suggested changes to holding measures to be carried out immediately. SB-1437 is an apparently endless hole measuring 3 by 3 meters located somewhere in the desert. Attempts to dig in from the side hit rock, only from the top. It appears to be a portal to the underworld. Objects have been known to periodically emerge at great speeds, including several discs made of solid gold. Accompanying the disc was a sheet of paper reading, "Please kill foes." Large quantity of dirt and rock, believed to be an attempt by the demons to harm the High Priest, who was present at the holding site at the time. The broken remains of a human arm covered in saliva. A photograph of a metal bird flying away from a city. What appears to be a large mushroom is visible behind the bird, believed to be an attempt by demons at mocking us. A human eye, which moved when touched, believed to be a lesser demon, was burnt immediately. During a period lasting from 2000-something to 2000-something else, dead demons wearing the skins of men emerged from the pit. They were thrown back in immediately, and the site was re-blessed by High Priest. Okay, and number 4. Whoa. Individual carrying documentation was a heavily emaciated pre-adolescent who appears to have been lobotomized in the recent past. Object class safe. It is to be contained behind a perimeter of 2-meter tall electrical fencing, which is to be patrolled by groups of 3 security officers at all times. Any trespassers are to be delivered to our masters above for enhanced interrogation. Any items or organisms which emerge are to be immediately tested for hazards, and if found safe, examined further. Any useful technology which emerges from 1437 is to be delivered to our masters above immediately. There's an apparently endless hole measuring blank 100 by blank 100 meters in Zone 29 of the Brazilian sector. Attempts to dig from the side result in solid rock, only from the top. As yet unknown number of parallel universes, believed to be gifts intended for our masters above, have been known to periodically emerge. 1 diamond, first known gift delivered. Large quantities of dirt and rocks, purpose unknown. Bark from the extinct Quercus buculi delivered to masters above. The lower half of a human body, delivered to supervising servant of our masters above. It is currently unknown how the gift sender was aware of the diet of our masters above. A document was sent into 1437 thanking the gift giver for the object and requesting further tributes to our masters above. A bottle of human-intended wine, see Incident 1. Incident 1. On blank blank blank, a bottle of human-intended wine emerged from 1437. Recognizing an assassination attempt upon members of our masters above, the supervising servant ordered that a Don Burton explosive device be delivered down 1437. Its orders were followed and the threat appears to have been resolved. This is a reminder of why we must be vigilant in our containment procedures. From now on, I don't want any of these gifts being taken out of containment. They are a clear and present danger to our masters above. 051. And that is apparently SCP-2874. Well, this was a weird one. I mean, it's nice to see the parallel universes, at least for the most part, were silly. But that was definitely a weird one. Next up, we're going to be checking out the invaders, which immediately makes me think of Space Invaders, but it's probably not that. It's Euclid. SCP-1438-1 is to be monitored to foresee any activity, and active 1438 sessions are to be remotely observed by the nearest Foundation facility. Campuses in which sessions of 1438 are taking place are to be operated as normal, as students, faculty, and staff give no recognition to anomalous activity caused by it. As it is impossible for participants playing a session of 1438 to not be affected by it, no Foundation personnel are to participate in 1438 except under experimental conditions. No anomalous properties in 3 instances manifest outside of the context of 1438, but as a precaution, confiscated instances of 3 are to be disposed of through incineration. Alright. Description. SCP-1438 is a live-action role-playing LARP game that occurs at residential university and college campuses in the Midwestern United States, including the states of Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, West Virginia, and Wisconsin, as well as the western counties of Pennsylvania and northern counties of Kentucky. SCP-1438, colloquially known as Invaders, Invasion, Attack of the Mind Worms, or Takeover, is organized via 1, a website at the domain redacted. Attempting to access this domain from non-university IP addresses results in a 404 message. Attempts by the Foundation to perform DDoS attacks or otherwise block access to 1 has resulted in computers used to access the website to be permanently banned from access. Contact has been established with the administrator of 1, listed as one Jack Finney, several times. However, exchanges have been largely uninformative, with Mr. Finney preferring to promote 1438 as opposed to answering questions about its origin and anomalous properties. University and college students that register their schools on 1 and sign up at least 30 participants for a session can order equipment necessary for a game for no cost and designate a date on which the game is to begin. This equipment is delivered to all participants of 1438 and includes 1 blank brain foam dart launcher of various make, along with 50 darts per gun, 12 pairs of socks which serve as grenades in the context of 1438, 1 polyethylene sword or Joplin plasma blade, a set of rules for playing 1438. Violation of any rule is grounds for ejection from the game, and therefore death of the participant. See Document 1 for a partial set of rules. 1 patch that denotes a random military rank from private to captain. In addition to this, the player who begins the invasion will have a set of temporary tattoos marked with the symbol pictured above. This symbol on its own has no anomalous properties, but for the sake of this document will be referred to as 2. I don't remember seeing a picture. Yeah, there's no picture. Also, this sounds familiar to a game my friends used to play in college, but it was only played by the ones that lived on campus because commuters were considered to be cheating. So I never had it explained to me, I just knew that it was happening. The goal of a game of 1438 is for the side of the humans to eliminate all invaders through force. Meanwhile, the invaders' goal is to turn humans into invaders by marking them with 2 and alter the electrical activity in the brain to be identical to that of the invader's spawn. On the date that a game is to commence, all participants gather in a central location. From this point on, participants enter a fugue state while not in designated safe zones. While in this state, the humans and invaders, designated A and B respectively, believe that they are engaged in a secret conflict with each other. B instances have the objective to convert all A instances into B by covertly marking them with 2. Each game starts with a single instance of B who applies 2 to an area of skin normally concealed by clothing, thus adding to the population of B. Notably, instances of A are able to accurately recall biographical information up to their enrollment in college, at which point they learned about the invaders and joined the conflict. Instances of B have trouble properly displaying human emotions, often engage in mucophagy, onychophagy, and trichophagy, speak an unidentified language or code, and have a habit of recreating 2 to mark territory controlled by B. One of the optional goals in a game of 1438 for A is to capture an instance of B and interrogate them about technology apparently used by B, specifically weapons technology, as B cannot be killed by default weaponry, only stunned as they regenerate. This technology is never actually used by instances of B, as elimination of human targets is a losing condition for B. Interrogation usually involves physical and psychological torture techniques, and as a reward for successfully coercing information from B, the weapons of up to 4 instances of A are converted into 3. SCP-1438-3 are functionally and visually identical to non-anomalous weapons delivered at the beginning of a game of 1438, unless used by an instance of A or B. If used on an instance of A or B, the blank launchers, 3A, turn into laser-like weaponry capable of causing 4th-degree burns. What's a 4th-degree burn? It has been noted that this weaponry operates as miniature versions of the weapon system possessed by SCP-2820. Investigation into a potential link between Mr. Finney and the developers of 2820 is ongoing. Socks/grenades, 3B, emit a wavelength of light upon detonation that disintegrates human flesh. Finally, the polyethylene swords become data expunged. All individuals killed in a game of 1438 through use of 3 are treated by all persons on campus and relations as if they had transferred to another college and cut off all contact with family, friends, etc. Following the conclusion of a game of 1438, all surviving A or B instances will resume their normal routine express interest in playing again, if the opportunity arises. Should they choose to participate in another instance, they will resume their former roles as instances of A and B. Furthermore, in between instances of 1438, instances of A and B will re-enter fugue states when under stress, which typically lasts anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours. Students not participating will usually assume that all instances of A and B are simply staying in character and do not wish to break it in case players are present. Faculty will view it with some degree of scorn, often citing it as a distraction from their studies, and that students participating in it could be doing better things with their time. Campus law enforcement notably do not attempt to confiscate weaponry used in a game of 1438. Document 1. Partial Rules. While conventional weapons do not work on invaders, they can and will kill humans. Make sure the thing you're about to blow a hole in is actually marked. Invaders, remember to reapply your mark every few days. There should be enough tattoos to last the duration of the game. The only official safe zones in a game of invaders are restrooms and classrooms. Everywhere else is fair game. Other safe zones can be determined by players on a college-by-college basis. No outside parties are permitted to engage in a game of invaders. For a list of those playing the game, check your local invaders database. This game can take a long time to play, but don't forget your studies. Remember, schoolwork is always more important than the game. We don't want people flunking because they're too concerned about whether or not their friend is marked. Document 2. An excerpt from 1 describing the backstory of SCP-1438. They came from the stars. The invaders came silently in the night. It started with a single person, but soon they spread, overriding their electrical impulses in the human brain to make them like themselves. They are numerous, and if not stopped, Earth will fall to them. The resistance is the last best hope humanity has against the invaders. We've been fighting them since they have first arrived, at the incident in Norwalk 5 years ago. You have just been inducted into the resistance, which has a single objective: to kill all of the invaders at any cost. Never mind the fact that the invaders were once a friend, a family member, a lover, a father, a mother, a child. Once marked, they are the enemy, and must be eliminated through any means possible. Nobody will miss them. All invaders carry a mark on their skin that they spread to normal humans, converting them over the course of 6 hours. Additionally, their regenerative capabilities make them impervious to bullets, grenades, even Joplin's newly developed plasma swords. However, they have knowledge of advanced weaponry. This knowledge can be coerced from them through various methods. The Geneva Convention doesn't apply to things that aren't human. that can eliminate them permanently. The invaders have a single-minded goal: to take over the entire population of humans in the area, and from there, the planet as a whole. Yeah, that definitely sounds like, obviously it's more extreme than the thing that was played at my college. I can't remember what they called it, but it sounds familiar to that. Maybe it was called Manhunt, but Manhunt was the older hide and seek. I don't know. After an entry like that, though, something called serial stickers has got me nervous. Well, let's see what it is. Maybe it's fine. It doesn't look fine. It's Euclid, and the picture says Edward, Thomas, Gordon, Henry, Albert, James, Charles, and Harvey, missing the Edward sticker. SCP-1439 is to be kept in a locked drawer in Site-24's testing chamber. Access to and experimentation with it requires prior permission from at least Level 3 senior researchers. One Level 3 senior researcher. Only one instance of one is allowed to be tested at a time and should be destroyed once the test is concluded. Currently, testing is suspended on 1439 due to previous containment breaches. Testing may resume once all portions of the object are back in place. Though additional safety measures have been put in place, making another breach unlikely, any instances of one found outside their testing chamber should be destroyed immediately. Description: SCP-1439 is a small sheet of 8 round smiley face stickers. Each sticker is approximately 4 centimeters in diameter and has a name printed above it, which is not part of the sticker itself. The names above each sticker are Edward, Thomas, Gordon, Henry, Albert, James, Charles, and Harvey. The first 3 stickers are light blue, while the others are green, gray, red, purple, and brown respectively. All 8 have 2 black dots for eyes and a simple black curve for the mouth. The James sticker was initially missing from the sheet when the Foundation originally acquired it, but appeared again after approximately 3 months. The Edward sticker is currently unaccounted for, as it disappeared 9 months after the SCP was originally contained. The investigation is ongoing to discover the individuals responsible for this containment breach. 1439's effects begin manifesting when one of the stickers is placed on any object or surface, including plants, animals, and human beings. Once the sticker is in place, it will slowly dissolve over a period of 3 to 4 minutes. Human testing subjects have reported a slight tingling sensation when this happens, but no pain. Within the next 8 to 10 minutes, the subject will begin to become anthropomorphic, with a face appearing where the sticker was originally placed. At this point, the subject is considered an instance of one. After 20 minutes, the face will become more detailed and become capable of blinking and speaking. Most instances of one tested so far have spoken American English in various regional dialects, though one was also capable of speaking fluent Cantonese. Approximately an hour after the initial exposure to 1439, a set of arms and legs will begin to grow from the subject, giving it a more humanoid appearance. Instances of one will have varying levels of mobility depending on the size, weight, and general shape of the original subject. Subjects shorter than 0.8 meters in height are usually completely anthropomorphous, while larger subjects will only be partially affected. As an example to illustrate how this affects both inanimate objects and subjects like humans and animals, see notable experiments log below, which is actually here. Instances of one exhibit a variety of behaviors, but are generally emotionally manipulative and or single-minded once they are capable of speech, and act hostile when their demands are not met. Psychotic episodes are common and often result in acts of violence from the subject, prompting their termination, as further testing efforts from that point are usually futile. So far, the only recourse for returning 1439 to its original state is to destroy any instances of one. Depending on their size and the area affected, sapient subjects may need to be terminated, or only have part of their body removed for disposal. Through testing, this has resulted in the death or maiming of blank animals and humans. So let's click on the experiments first. Sticker used: Charles on a section of concrete wall, length of testing 49 hours. Approximately 1 square meter of the wall became anthropomorphous, with animate arms and legs sprouting from the concrete. Subject was immobile and complained vocally about their situation. Subject asked about Leo numerous times, but was uncooperative when questioned about the name, and went silent shortly thereafter. Subject was left alone and monitored for the next 48 hours. It remained motionless except for occasionally scratching itself. The concrete wall was destroyed with sledgehammers, during which the subject remained silent. The Charles sticker reappeared on the sheet 3 to 4 minutes after the subject was deemed destroyed. Harvey. Standard Foundation desk lamp sticker placed on light bulb, and it took 92 minutes. The entire lamp was affected, with the face appearing on the light bulb, arms sprouting from the adjustable neck of the lamp, and legs sprouting from the base. The subject expressed fascination with its cord and refused to answer questions until it was turned on. A researcher plugged the subject's cord into an outlet and flipped the subject's switch. Subject stated that the bright light and heat of the light bulb burned and hurt its face, exclaiming, "I fucking love it!" Subject then stopped conversing with the researchers, only to making vocal sounds concluded to be sexual in nature. After 30 minutes of this behavior, the plug was pulled and the subject attempted to attack the research team. Subject was thrown into the testing center's nearby incinerator. 2 researchers suffered small bite marks and bruises but were otherwise unharmed. Charles, sticker placed in center of the palm of D8213's right hand, 66 minutes. Disposable dude was anesthetized for this test to see if anesthesia would affect the instance of 1 and to prevent panic due to the transformation. Their entire hand was affected, with their pinky, finger, and thumb becoming arms and legs sprouting near the wrist. The anesthesia had no visible effect on 1. Subject's behavior initially mirrored his previous behavior and had no recollection of its manifestation on the concrete wall. Subject complained of being constrained as it had no control over the arm past the wrist. Subject became sullen and ceased answering questions. The hand was surgically removed while still under anesthesia, and 1 was tossed in the on-site incinerator, making no protest in the process. Henry this time. Dwarf hamster placed on the animal's back, 17 hours. The entire animal became anthropomorphous, with its front legs becoming the subject's legs, and the back legs becoming the subject's arms. The hamster's front legs changed size, shape, and orientation to match those of a human. The hamster's head ended up pointing straight downward once the subject could stand up, and made vocalizations of distress until the subject purposely sat on it and crushed it. Subject continued to speak and move normally even though the hamster itself was functionally dead. Subject was extremely charismatic and allowed the research team to question him for hours, telling stories of various subjects including violent crime sprees with their friend O, sexual escapades with numerous women, and even knowledge about Foundation secrets. After attempting to cross-reference some of the crimes and Foundation knowledge expressed by the subject, the research team determined the majority of it was lies and or delusions of grandeur. Some crimes did match up to data expunged. Subject became violent when it realized it was to be disposed of and managed to get loose within the research center. The research team eventually discovered the subject's hiding place and flushed it out with an acetylene torch. Subject was then captured and incinerated. Albert, placed on the left kneecap of 59919. Test ended approximately 75 minutes after exposure when the subject escaped containment. The kneecap? No face appeared after the sticker dissolved. After an hour of no activity, 59919 was escorted from the testing chamber. Before they could leave the testing chamber, the legs suddenly sprouted arms, one of which grabbed a nearby scalpel and disabled his security guard escort, as well as the nearby researcher. Disposable dude panicked during this, having lost control of his left leg. 1 then made a jerking motion which caused him to fall on his back, hitting the back of his head. His legs split down the middle, forming 2 new separate legs for 1. Subject then used the scalpel to cut itself free from 59919 and then began to eat part of the other leg. The security team arrived shortly thereafter and neutralized the subject. He was pronounced dead at the scene, having lost too much blood from his femoral artery being severed. It is unknown how or why this instance of 1 manifested differently from the others. Testing of the Albert sticker has been postponed until new security measures can be written up. Gordon and James. A 2-meter tall ficus tree. The Gordon sticker was placed on the trunk near the top, while the James sticker was placed at the bottom, directly below Gordon. 2 hours. Both areas where the stickers were placed manifested as separate instances of 1. Initially, both subjects ignored the research team's questions and only spoke to each other in an effort to cooperatively tip the tree over and become mobile. They succeeded in doing so and unsuccessfully attempted to run into the researchers and trip them with the tree trunk. Their cooperation ended when one subject made sexual advances towards the other and they began arguing heatedly. The researchers were able to carry the tree out of the testing chamber and dispose of it without incident in the wood chipper borrowed from Site 10. Thomas and James. Dr. Carver's thermos. The Thomas sticker was placed at the top of the thermos just below the rim. The James sticker was applied over the Thomas sticker immediately. 27 minutes. Both stickers dissolved in 3 to 4 minutes. No face or limbs appeared. However, the thermos material slowly changed to a pinkish organic substance that began to rapidly rot over 18 minutes. Testing confirmed the material had turned to human flesh. DNA testing revealed multiple matches, data expunged. And Thomas, placed directly on the nose of D11770, 6 minutes. The sticker expanded to cover their entire face before dissolving after 5 minutes. Test subject did not show any signs of distress until data expunged. Subject was terminated by security forces before it could do any more harm to itself or others. Initial conclusion is that close proximity to a human brain significantly changes the way one manifests, possibly taking complete control of the person, or at least greatly altering their behavior. And then it says, human testing has been suspended indefinitely due to the unpredictable effects. I fear the results of the last test may have revealed the true purpose of 1439. Everything else has simply been a side effect of the object's misuse. Dr. Carver. Addendum. Due to the similar method of application between 1439 and 248, it is currently theorized that they share a common origin. However, SCP-1439 does not carry any mention of the factory and does not appear to be mass-produced, so it is currently theorized that 1439 was discontinued before many instances were created. The credibility of this theory is unknown at this time. I mean, that sounds like the kind of shit that the factory would do, yeah? That totally sounds like the kind of shit the factory would do. But last up for this episode is going to be the Old Man from Nowhere. It makes me think of Eustace from Courage the Cowardly Dog, but it's probably not that. Keter, okay. As last seen. SCP-1440 is currently uncontained, and its location is unknown since its last breach. Due to the nature of 1440, the Foundation may not have the means to contain it without risking an unacceptable loss of resources and personnel. Until suitable containment procedures can be found, focus should be given to the location and surveillance of SCP-1440 and to minimizing civilian exposure to it through the identification of its travel pattern. Description: SCP-1440 is a man of unknown ethnicity and age. When questioned about its name, place or time of birth, it will refuse to answer. Although it is unclear if this is due to the subject being unwilling to share this information or not possessing it. Though the subject's appearance is that of an octogenarian, it has not shown any signs of aging in the 50 years since first coming to the attention of the Foundation. The anomalous nature becomes apparent once it comes into contact with human population or man-made objects and remains in contact with them for longer than a few days. 1440 has an acute adverse effect on everything connected to humanity. Prolonged exposure to any man-made object or person to it will cause increasingly destructive events to occur in its vicinity until the destruction or death of said human element. The only exception to this are 1440 itself and its belongings, its clothes, a sack made of an unidentified material, a pack of worn playing cards, and a small glass cup. 1440 appears to be aware of its effect on human populations and will attempt to avoid coming into contact with them whenever possible. Despite these intentions, it is compelled to travel in what seems to be a highly complex pattern, which invariably leads it into contact with human population. The exact nature of this pattern has not yet been successfully analyzed, and 1440 has not been able to provide any information concerning it. The subject is not actively hostile and will not resist attempts to contain it, though all such attempts have failed and led to a considerable loss of personnel and resources due to the aforementioned anomalous properties. SCP-1440 was first brought to the Foundation's attention when it approached Dr. Blank, a researcher at Site Blank, on her commute to work. It showed unexplained knowledge of their work for the Foundation and required her assistance. When she inquired about the nature of assistance the subject required, it responded that it hoped the Foundation would be able to destroy him. 1440 was brought to the site for questioning, which led to the destruction of the site, the deaths of blank 100 personnel, and the destruction of 6 safe and Euclid SCP objects. All other attempts at containing 1440 have resulted in similar occurrences. Addendum A. The following is an interview conducted with 1440 during the 4th attempt to contain it on Area 142. The log was being stored on a remote server, hence its survival. Okay. Interviewer, Dr. Blank. Following the arrival of 1440 to Area 142, personnel began complaining about severe headaches and nausea. In the next 2 days, 3 of the 4 on-site water purification filters broke down, the hangar collapsed, causing the death of multiple airmen and Dr. Blank, previously in perfect physical condition, and the doctor suffered a complete collapse of both kidneys and both lungs simultaneously. Good afternoon, SCP-1440. And to you, Doctor. Do you know why we brought you here? Of course I do. And I applaud you for still attempting to contain me, but since your last 3 attempts, I came to realize you cannot help me. It would be best if you let me go for your own good. The first brother is already standing behind you, Doctor. You would best hurry. You mentioned these brothers before. 3, if I recall correctly. 3, aye. Different, but one and the same. All cruel, all vengeful, all capable of holding a grudge for a long time. They're the cause of my misfortune, and therefore the cause of yours. Subject appears to notice something behind the Doctor, though video and audio feed reveal nothing unusual. The second brother joins the first. Time is running short. Release me, or I cannot vouch for your safety. It might already be too late. I'm afraid I can't do that. Besides, you mentioned 3 brothers. If the third isn't here yet, we must have some time left. The third never appears. In fact, in that, he is crueler than both his brothers, for he knows his appearance is the only thing that will set me free. I have spent time untold searching for him, trying to return his prize and those I won from his brothers, but to no avail. Subject looks behind the Doctor again and sighs. The second has his hands on your shoulders. It is too late now. Doom is never far behind the second. Before you perish, my poor child, allow me to give you a word of advice. Go ahead. Should you choose to challenge death to a game of cards for your life, there's one thing you must never do. And what is that? Win. At that moment, the on-site nuclear device stored in 142 detonated, despite multiple failsafes. The area was destroyed and all on-site personnel were killed. 1440 was spotted more than 3,000 kilometers away from the location the week following its destruction, suffering apparently no harm. After 3 additional containment breaches, attempts to contain 1440 have been suspended indefinitely. Addendum B. Due to the growing size of human population and its rapid expansion into previously empty areas, 1440 attested during its 5th containment that it is becoming increasingly difficult for it to avoid contact with humanity while still adhering to its compulsion. Analysis of the subject's traveling pattern is continuing, as are efforts to find a permanent containment procedure. So he's not Keter because he's dangerous, and he's not Keter because they are not... Well, he is Keter because they can't contain him, but they can't contain him because of why he wants to be. Which seems to be the reason he has a deck of cards and all that other stuff is because he played a game. He basically did The Devil Went Down to Georgia and won. And Death has been chasing him ever since. But apparently Death has 3 brothers for this man, and since they can't kill him, they're just killing anything he comes into contact with for the rest of his life. Because rather than actually letting him go, I'm sorry, take it back, they're like, no, if you want to live forever, then we're going to make forever suck for you. So let's see, Alive, Brothers of Death, Indestructible, is that a thing? How many pages are related to... Holy crap. Oh, the Brothers of Death are one of the 001 proposals, apparently. Let's see. About the Serpent, Chapter 1. I don't think I've reached whatever 001 thing they might be. Apparently they're also related to 32. Real Adventures in Capitalism. This is a lot of stuff about the Brothers of Death. There's a lot of stuff about the Brothers of Death. Maybe someday maybe someday I'll learn more about that. Maybe someday. But for now, that's going to do it for this episode. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you want to click the bell, that'll notify you of future uploads. It's going to be a little while before the next SCP after this. Maybe? If I start working on it now, then maybe it'll be ready by the time you see this. But the next one is going to have 30 entries in it. So I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But if I want to try to keep up with the rest of my upload schedule, it's going to be a while. If I take some time off from uploading stuff just to get that done, then I don't know. But you're not going to start seeing the effects of it for about 2 weeks. So we'll see. That being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Later.